Am I supposed to be serious right now?
I don't know. I'm never serious.
It's up to. All right, live stream is up. So that's good. And then I'm going to post it to Facebook. And Two's on. Hey, Two.
Hey, I'm confused because I thought, crap.
No, we're good. And we're like, just so you know, audio's live and there's people on. We're going to get started in like 1 minute. So that's how Zoom works.
I'm going to join via participant.
I mean, Two's cool.
Yeah, I mean, she could have talked.
She could hang out. Yeah. That was Two's first webinar appearance. Two's great. About another minute and we'll get started. I'm just publishing the live stream on YouTube and on LinkedIn.
And all the places. I'm assuming you have to register to see the live stream too, right?
No.
Oh, you don't?
No, but I don't know. Like, I think it's like, hey, encourage everybody to watch our content. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's useful and helpful. So hopefully everyone on the webinar can appreciate that. 1 more minute and we'll get started. Thanks for everybody's patience and hanging out with us.
They're all like me. They always join everything early.
Who is most excited on this webinar to hear about Windows? I'm sorry,
they should all be
Log
excited.
Mira template.
They should all be. This is like the most exciting thing that's happened all week.
Wait, someone raised their hand. Good job. I didn't know you could do that on Zoom. All right, cool. We're live discussing Blue Mira's new Windows logging GPO template. Join now. All right, and then I'm going to post this and I'm done. So we're 1 minute in. Appreciate everybody for joining today. We'll get started. So let me share my screen and we're good to go. And oh, we should probably hit the record button too. I'll hit it. 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, I gotta hit it while I'm not sharing my screen. All right, so we are recording now and we're about to get started. Thanks everybody for your patience through these technical fun times. All right, we're gonna talk about getting the most out of your Windows logs today. And I'm here with Amanda Berlin. Thank you for joining.
I swear I'm the same person in the picture.
Same, really? Your cheeks are so rosy. Amanda, you've written some books about security. You do a lot of different things regarding security workshops, and it's exciting to have you talk about the new template and tool that you created, Log Mira.
Yeah.
So to get started, first off, like, what's the main purpose or the reason why you created this tool?
Time savings and just ease of use and setting a whole bunch of settings so you don't have to do it manually.
How much time did it normally take you to do what you do with the settings?
Well, it's not, well, I don't know, maybe 20-30 minutes, but it's just the repetitive nature of it, right? And we can get into that a little bit later, but I mean, I was doing it in labs all the time and helping customers with it, and it's just way easier to change it from a 30-minute process to a 2-minute import.
Hey, before we hop into some of the details, like how many customers that you interact with or environments you interact with have the right settings before we start working with them?
None.
Okay, so nobody knows to do this. B, they don't have an easy way to do it, I think, are the main reasons you created a template.
Yeah, and you kind of just think that Windows should just have all of the logging already turned on, which it does not.
Yeah, I think Windows 10 got a little, maybe incrementally better, but still quite a bit of logging policies not enabled. So do you want to talk a little bit about group policy and what group policy is?
Sure. Yeah. So when you have a Windows Active Directory environment, your group policy is one of the most powerful things that you can actually have at your disposal. It gives you broad control of endpoint and user behavior across the entire domain. If you don't use it, you kind of just have to make sure each user or each desktop or whatever has all of the settings manually configured and turned on. And by default, group policy lets you control things like password policies, startup and shutdown scripts, menu options, and even gives you the ability to deploy software. And on top of that, you have other things like ADMX files that you can import to control things like Microsoft Office and Java, Firefox, like a bunch of third-party tools that you can import and have the capability of controlling like in a central location. And NIST has something really cool too, that they have a national checklist program that you can download like GPO templates from. Here on the screen kind of shows you GPO on the left-hand side, and then what's considered the order of preference, sorry, not preference, precedence, when a group policy is applied. So you can have group policy in 4 different spots. First, you have local, and that's when the endpoint has its own specific group policy settings, and you can edit that with GP edit from any local device. And then you have sites, and that's a location that's usually mapped to a physical location and Active Directory sites and services. And then you have domain, where most of the broad enterprise level things like password policies are, and they end up covering the entire domain structure. And then you have GPOs that can be mapped to OUs. So you can have like your accounting department as, a separate set of settings than the rest of the domain. So you can think of it like if there's a setting applied at each one of those steps along the way, if they're all different, right? You have the same setting set at local, site, domain, and OU, but it's different all the way through. OU is going to end up taking precedence over all of them because it's the most granular application of the GPO.
Cool. That's helpful. Hey, I got a question. What if I'm running work groups?
I can't help you.
Okay, I'm totally just messing with you.
I'm not that old, Patrick.
I'm kidding. Good times. Cool. So let's talk a little bit about beyond GPU. I hope all you Windows folks got that joke. But what's the purpose behind getting better Windows logging? Like, what benefit is it going to provide when you actually do apply these settings?
It will actually provide benefit because by default, Windows logging gives you absolutely nothing. I mean, there's a little bit that goes into the event viewer, but pretty much there's nothing useful from the security standpoint when it comes to detecting things. Starting at Windows Server 2008 R2, Microsoft gave us the advanced audit policy settings, and that's like over 50 different things that you can control now in group policy. And you can install Sysmon too, which is the next slide. But yeah, by default, gives you absolutely nothing. But setting all of the things that you need to set in there can give you things like account lockouts, what processes are being created, just a whole list of a lot of really super helpful stuff.
So how do you understanding people on this call, right? They might or might not use the Blue Mira service. How are they going to use these new settings as they start ingesting or leveraging these logs to do threat detection?
I mean, you can send them anywhere, right? Whatever kind of log aggregation you have, you can send them using WEF, which is the Windows Event Forwarder. We usually recommend using NXLog. We have big, long NXLog configs for every single type of Windows and Windows application that's out there. And there's other like log collection tools that you can use, but by default, it just kind of all ends up in the event viewer. And part of the log Mira settings that we have set, other than these advanced audit policy configuration stuff, is the size of retention that those logs take, depending on if you're on a server, or if you're on a desktop or whatever.
Cool. Sysmon, what's Sysmon?
Yeah, so it's not a native Windows thing. It comes with sysinternal suite for Microsoft. And I didn't want to, I needed to do the title of this webinar justice, by getting the most out of your Windows logging. And while this doesn't come default with Windows, it's definitely a huge value add that I couldn't just ignore. So literally there's 3 commands that you have to run to install it. You just kind of copy over config file. Swift on Security currently has the best sysmon config that you can get on their GitHub. And it just enriches a lot of the data that you get in your Windows logs and gives you, like this on the right-hand side is just DNS logging, which without using Sysmon is difficult to get.
How often do we see people actually using Sysmon before we work with them?
I've seen maybe one person already have Sysmon installed.
So it's pretty infrequent. So
Yeah.
these are some pretty easy low-hanging fruit things that people can do.
Yeah, and it's a really low intensity application when it comes to system resources and stuff. So
and what
else there?
I'm curious, and you might not know this, but what version of Windows can you install this on?
All of current ones that are supported.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if it required a certain version of Windows.
No, I think, I remember using it on XP, but hopefully nobody's running that yet still.
They are. All right, how many people on the call today are running Windows XP?
Don't raise your hands. Don't raise your hands.
Don't raise your hand.
I have one in the lab. Does that count? I have one in my lab.
I frequently, talk to prospective customers, or where the reality is they do have that in their environments. Oh, we got someone raising their hand, or maybe in the chat.
Oh, ATM.
Every ATM in North America is running XP.
That's XP embedded. That's way more secure.
Cool. So let's talk about Log Mira a little bit and the background behind this.
Yeah, sure. So like all of those settings, right? Like the over 50 things takes you half an hour. You could mess up because you're literally going into every spot in that GPO and saying, all right, do I need to alert on this at all? And do I need to do success? Do I need to do success and failure? Do I just need to do failure when it comes to the log type? And I think in 2019, 2020 alone, I probably spun up 10 different labs. And I've tried to automate as much of it as possible. And I had actually looked into automating GPOs with PowerShell, which isn't fun at all. You actually have to know all of the registry settings, locations of where it's at, all of the configuration of what that registry setting is to be able to do it with PowerShell. Like there has to be something easier. So I knew you could back up GPOs, but I didn't know that you could actually send it from forest to forest without there being like permission issues and like missing GUIDs and all that kind of stuff, right? And it turns out that you can. So I was kind of super surprised nobody had just already had a backed up GPO that you could import for all of the correct settings that you need. I mean, there's the NIST stuff, right? But those are just ADMX templates. That's different. I just wanted something specific to logging. And so I did it and tested it across all of the different OSs. And then you guys came up with a great name for it.
Oh, what I just clicked through. Sorry, I can't control my slides.
No, you're
Yeah,
fine.
so then, yeah, good. I mean, good insight. Kind of two things is more visibility. So Mira, which happens to be the second part of our name. It's not Myra, it's Blue Mira. Sometimes I have to remind people of that. Yeah, and then logging, of course, and that we're improving and collecting the logs from Windows. Hey, while we're talking, we have some good questions that have been coming in, and everyone likes to put you on the spot. How much additional log volume overhead do these settings create?
It depends on how big your environment is and how noisy it is, right? It's going to be a lot more. Especially this is now taking creating logs on all process creation and delete and not deletion, but process creation and whatever the other one, all of those events. If you have sysmon, it's giving you all the DNS queries. It could be a lot. That's why we changed, the storage retention from what it is by default. But anymore, servers don't have 10 gig hard drives, and you're not going to want to use these logging recommendations if you don't already have a logging aggregator or SIM, because that's what's taking your logs, right? You don't want them to be stored on the host locally anyway. And yeah, I mean, it really would depend on the size of the network and how many hosts you have and how many applications is on the endpoint, all that kind of stuff.
Cool. So look at what you have existing for Windows, multiply it.
It's going to be a lot.
Increase.
It's a very large increase, but
well, I think the reality is with the GPO, right? You can apply it just to a few systems to test and validate to see
definitely
what that might look like as well. And I assume you're going to see a lot more logging on a host that runs DNS and Active Directory compared to an endpoint, right? So good things to take into consideration. All right, baseline recommendations. Look at this. What are we looking at?
Did your slide change or am I just?
Oh gosh, I forgot to resume my sharing.
There
Sorry.
You go.
that way I can do Q&A at the same time as.
Okay. All right.
We're
that's
looking,
fine.
but
yeah. So these are baseline recommendations for most security things that you'd have to worry about. It doesn't cover every niche solution, as some not very nice person pointed out in a 2600 group I'm in. But and there's other things like if you have Azure, this doesn't take into consideration that, but this is like every normal Windows domain enterprise that you'd want. And that, I mean, this is just some of them in the GPO, and you can see it too if you go and look at the GitHub. I made sure to leave the XML there that actually describes all the settings that are in it, so you don't know, like, all right, well, I'm going to import this GPO and I don't know what's in it. So that XML is out there that actually tells you all the settings. This is most of them. There's also, like I mentioned before, the size and retention periods of the different event logs, and turning on PowerShell module logging, and like just command line logging in general.
Cool.
But yeah, there's a lot of them.
A lot of different stuff. I think like the important thing I'd say there is like most people are doing nothing and don't even realize they should be looking at this. That's a general common theme I'd say across the industry as it relates to security, right? And it's all about starting to do some of the basic things and getting that in place and continuing to do more. So it's understandable. that maybe not every possible setting under the sun is here, but a good foundation to be able to do better collection, get visibility, and do detection.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe you have to go in and turn on or off one thing, right? But it's not going to be, you know.
What is there anyone setting that is just like, hey, this really adds a ton of value if you look across all the different settings?
Yes. Let me look.
Hey, and just
All the things on my screen are super small.
Everyone on the webinar, you can ask questions too. I'm happy to surface any questions you have as we're going through this.
Where's it at? Account lockout stuff, like log on, log off. Definitely.
Is that where, like, what do you detect with those?
You can detect password spraying and like brute force events.
All right, you asked for questions. We got some, or I did. We got some more questions. So 4624 and 425 events is the question.
462. Yeah, that's the log on, log off.
Oh man. All right.
Yeah.
It's the code number. Good call.
Yeah.
To the audience.
Yeah. How many Windows event IDs do you have memorized? Because it's getting up there for me.
Wow. I'm just starting.
4624 is log on. 4625 is log off or failed log on. I think that's failed log on. 4625.
All right, before we hop into video of the GPO, I do think there is more than I'd like to admit. All right, questions and chat are fun. Thanks everybody for participating. I'm gonna resume the share. We're gonna show a quick video as far as walkthrough is what this looks like and works.
I also don't know if my audio is on. Like I can walk through this and you don't have to hear like my weird recorded robot voice too, if you want. Like in that video.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can like mute that.
I can't hear your voice.
Yeah,
so.
Perfect. Yeah. All right. So this is like also the beginning.
Oh gosh, I'm the worst at curating webinars. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, so this is starting from the beginning. This is in the GPO. This is our bluelab.dev. And just the export process if you want to do it yourself. So really just back it up to whatever location that you want and give it a description. And like all the, I'll show you in the import process, all the guides that I found missed a very critical step. And I was upset that I couldn't figure it out for the longest time. And then somebody told me how to do it on Twitter. So it's fantastic. But that's a backup file right there. And I just copy it over to our second domain that we have. Well, domain out of like 6 now, but. You just copy the whole folder over there. And that folder is the one that's, the one on the video is the one that's zipped up on our GitHub too. So this is the second domain, which is imaginary.local. So this is me creating a new GPO because if you back this GPO up onto one that you already have, it overwrites all the settings, not just the ones that are set in the backup. So you have to create that new one and restore it here. You just go to the desktop and find the one that you want, which was the most recent one that I had done. Yeah, you definitely want to create a blank GPO. Otherwise, you'll delete everything. And that's pretty much it. Like the right-click import or restore is way easier than having to go in here and set all, I don't know, 60 or so different settings in a GPO. And then you can just apply that wherever. By default, this is just creating the GPO and importing the settings. It's not actually applying it anywhere. So you'd have to pick like where you want to apply it to. Definitely do it on a test environment first if you want to see what's happening.
Hey, and just to clarify, as far as applying the GPO, right? Like you can apply the login GPO while other GPOs are being used, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Talk
Yeah,
about how that works.
That order of precedent. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. Order of precedence that we talked about earlier. So it depends. Like there's group policy. What is it? Force, like you can force different GPOs, you can change the precedence, you can do a whole bunch of different weird stuff, but by default it's going to be what order it is that you've put it on the OU or the domain or whatever it has it listed. If you select the specific spot that you're applying them to, and it will show you like in your policy console which ones applied first, and you can do like the different tools that show you your result set of policy and all that kind of stuff, but that's more advanced nerdy GPO stuff.
Cool. I'm still working on clicking through these. Oh, I'm so bad at this. So I think there was in the chat like 4672. Do you know what that is? Ban ID?
Crap. No.
And I think that's what it is, but I can't figure out how to get back. Oh wait, there's the chat. 4672. You're supposed to just Google
Is that
it.
that's a different event? That's a different event on the login, I think, right?
Yeah, they said not to forget that one. So.
Oh yeah, that gets turned on too. I think that's for,
admin user rights logged in.
It's a different event, a different logon type too, right? Like one's NTLM and one's Kuros, maybe, or maybe that's the logon type.
Yeah, what they said is admin user rights logged on.
Mm-hmm.
Is that helpful?
Yes.
I'm just quizzing you on things that that's like asking what port is 1242 on your firewall.
It's in the thousands. It's not a designated port.
Cool. So let's hop into the Blue Mira side a little bit as far as some of the different detections that we do. Dude, sorry. I can't keep it. But that we are able to detect because of these Windows login settings. Want to talk about
do you want me to go over? Yeah, you want me to go over this part, right?
Yeah, isn't this
okay?
4624?
46. This is 4625.
Oh right? Gosh, sorry, got my number wrong.
Right. So this is a account failed to log on. So failed logon events, and you can see, like, if you can see the date and time there, that these are all at the same time. This is me practicing password spraying against one of our DCs. And then what we actually can detect. So there's a really good article that, what is his name? The guy that, one of the guys that started Blue Team Con. Crap, I can't remember his name, but he has a really good article on how to detect password spraying and the different thresholds that you should have. And that's just one of them, one of the types that we detect on a regular domain. So it's a one-to-many type attack, right? So you have one device attempting a bunch of different username and password logons, and it's just a basic password spray. I think this one's NTLM too.
I think it's kind of interesting because I came, I don't know if everybody knew this, but I came from Duo. Was there about 8 years, helped building the company. And at first when I saw password spraying, I was like, why would you want to detect that? That's useless because two-factor authentication protects you from password spraying. When actually looking at the chain of attack though, it's like, well, wouldn't you want to stop the attack earlier in the process?
Right.
And so, yeah, coming from more or less the prevention side, it's interesting. Like if you're able to detect it or the attack earlier, and we'll show this in a moment, you're able to stop the attack before even primary credential is compromised, which is what password spraying is essentially attempting to do. So yeah, it becomes a lot more logical because it's just one less step closer. And then internally as well, not only external detection when you're talking about password spraying, right?
Yeah, this one's OWA, right? So this is somebody attempting a password spray from the outside to your OWA server, which also, unfortunately, a whole lot of people don't have two-factor auth on. And because this isn't the same run, right? Like the one that I show on the left-hand side is in the lab. The one on the outside is actually a real attack. We also have the ability, I can't talk today. We also have the ability to automatically add the IP to a dynamic block list if you have a next-gen firewall. So you can just say like, yeah, block.
I'll show it in a sec.
Block,
All right.
block that IP that has been spraying automatically.
And then what about PowerShell dropper?
This one is blacked out because it has a whole lot of customer information in it. I was very super excited about this because I have struggled my whole life with regex, and this is one of my detections that looks for different privilege escalation things that you can do. There's like 500 ways that you can get past the execution policy in PowerShell. And this one actually hit. There was some random person on the internet using a PowerShell dropper, and it landed on one of our customers' web servers. So on the left, that's me showing you how to do it in the lab, and just basically the same command that they had run on the customer's web server. And it just detected that they were trying to do, I think the dash no p is no profile, so it loads PowerShell without the specific execution profile that you have, and then it's just downloading a bit.ly link to the box.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna hop in a sec to show some of this live as far as the detections, how it works. I did have to go get a drink. You might need a drink too. I got hibiscus, like this is legit LaCroix. It's a real thing and it's delicious.
So that's the water that was sitting next to the hibiscus.
Oh, is that the intention? Like
it's
like
just a LaCroix joke. It's just a LaCroix joke.
That's good. I drink way too much of it. That and coffee, that's my go-to. So yeah, to talk a little bit about, and hopping into Mira and showing some detections related to the Windows logging that we're doing. One thing to emphasize is like the approach we're taking to what we would consider to be SEM detection response is quite different than what's out there today. The concept is that you're automating as much of the detection stack as possible. And so a lot of organizations get caught up very early in deployment of SIM within their security operations related to log ingestion, parsing, getting the right settings on your Windows servers right, correlating threat intelligence, getting detection rules, doing alerting, prioritization, reporting. Really the reality is like when you're integrating with any third-party product, that stuff should just work and happen. Unfortunately, that's not how SIMs have been designed. Mira has taken an interesting approach to doing that differently so that when you do tie in an integration, it just works. And Amanda, I don't know if you want to talk or about that as well, but the main thing is to surface real threats within your environment that matter and not just a bunch of noise to sift through.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with a couple different SIMs, and there's like when we started all this, I thought that everyone was kind of crazy because they're like, oh no, we want the implementation time to be days, because I was used to doing it in like 3 to 6 months, right? You implement a SIM and it takes a long time for you to adjust all of the alerts and all of the tuning phases that you have to go through, and let alone the setup. And yeah, we're doing that all up front. So it makes me happy, even though I don't have to actually be on the other end of it anymore. But
makes it a lot easier. It makes me excited too, because it's like, yeah, the reality is get to work with customers onboarding and hours and days, right? And getting immediate time to value. And then I think the next logical thing is like, once you are detecting threats effectively, can it be automated or not? And I think this is the one thing where when people say automation, they get stuck on something that isn't as high value. The automation component of taking action or doing something is really tangible to think about. However, most people never even get to those steps because the foundation isn't right. And so that's the response piece, right? And so in the case of where action can be taken, it makes sense to automate it, and where it can't, having a playbook to know what to actually do becomes important. And that's really the approach that Blue Mira does take. And I'm gonna hop to the product here in a second, but the main thing is we built integrations with across technology providers to effectively be able to do great detection and response from playbook perspective, so that you can literally get up and running in a matter of days. And in some cases with integrations, like we're talking time to integration, time to value in hours. And so I'm going to show really quickly on the Blue Mira side. My screen's still showing, right? Yes. I was logged in and then it timed out, so we'll log in again. And feel free to ask any questions via Q&A and chat while I'm logging in. Oh, two-factor authentication, gosh. Wouldn't it be nice if they just dampened that? No, I'm joking. How many CEOs have asked you to shut off two-factor? It's kind of funny. One of the features we had to develop was bypass codes at Duo. Oh, wait. I should be careful, but no, it's because so many CEOs asked, like, I don't want two-factor authentication. We're like, we don't want to do this. It's bad security hygiene. Yeah. But it's just interesting. So on the, yeah, it's interesting how leadership sometimes like puts an organization at risk by convenience, right? Not the right thing to do necessarily. Now, in regards to, Blue Mira, as far as the setup process, we have what's called a sensor, and the sensor goes within your environment and is essentially what syncs up and connects up to your different security platforms. So in this instance, we might integrate with Carbon Black, for instance, put your API keys in, Umbrella, Duo, G Suite, really any of the technology within your environment. And then it also collects syslog. So we can do detection on, for instance, like a firewall logs. And then the last thing is
anything that sends syslog, really. And a lot of different places and software solutions, whatever, use the word sensor. Ours is basically just an Ubuntu box with Docker installed. And our sensors are Docker containers within Docker containers. And these modules are those second level Docker containers. So
you mean you're not gonna send me an appliance?
No, I mean I could.
Oh, no. Sorry,
10 payments of $9.99.
No box. We're not doing boxes. We're no boxes. You can also install a honeypot module on the sensor, and so just showing here, like, hey, I click install. It's a honeypot now.
Yeah, you don't actually have to configure the honeypot or anything. It just works as a honeypot. I think we have a couple different things on it already.
Yep. Now once I actually have the integrations up and running, we're starting to do detection. And so I can show some different examples, and I'll stick with some Windows ones since we're talking about the Windows logging. First one just to show is domain administrator account created. It's a good thing to audit when you give someone got access to your whole environment. In this case, right, I can validate that suspect and say, hey, the source user is unaware and this wasn't supposed to be created. So I can close that as a suspected finding, and it's going to turn into a threat. Within the service, when I do this, I'm going to get a notification, whether it's via voice, text, or email, depending on how I configure it. I probably should at some point configure my demo account.
With your real phone number, right?
Yeah, with my real phone number. So during these demos, I just get lit up. But yeah, then, you know, that threat is going to surface, and essentially this could be someone, for instance, in help desk, or it could be someone or yourself, right? That would be responding. And what you're going to see here is we're going to give them a clear playbook and workflow. As far as in this instance, the PowerShell script to actually run to disable that account, to mark that you've completed that action, right? And you can see the matched evidence down here. You don't have to sift through, you know, 100 different log items or all the details that we collected from the logs that you enabled. We're really surfacing the things that really matter. You're supposed to comment here, Amanda.
Sorry, I was answering.
I'm totally messing with you. What's the question?
I was answering a question in chat. If we can ingest NetFlow as well. And
cool.
No, not yet. But it's on our roadmap, because I would love to, like all of us would love to ingest NetFlow, because we don't care how much logging you send us. It doesn't matter on price, is what I mean. Like it's nice going from another very well-known SIM that charges you a lot of money depending on how much logs you send, to this, where it's like, just send me everything and it's the same price, which makes NetFlow capability like actually possible for people without budgets.
I mean, yeah, we love your logs, but we don't charge you more for it. Intentionally, I think what Amanda's saying is like, we're a user-based licensing model to make it easier from a consumption perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Make it so it's predictable. Unfortunately, the rest of the industry, or most of the industry, doesn't appreciate that sort of value. To show another example of a finding, like, so in this case, this is Outlook Web Access, which I think you showed before, and we're detecting password spraying because of the extra logging that we're doing. In this instance, we can actually take action and, for instance, block the source IP addresses of the attack at the firewall. And so we're integrated via next-gen firewall here. So when I click this button, it's automatically going to put the block list rules into the firewall. And I can view these here. And the thing I can really appreciate is, like, we made that process so simple and easy to do. But the reality is you can configure the block list itself also to automate this action, so you don't have to do anything. So when like something like this happens in the middle of the night, you don't have to wake up to an alert. It just puts the rule in, you're taken care of. And, you know, so to show you some of the different examples, this is going to integrate with any dynamic block list capability. So your Palo Altos, your Cisco's, FortiGates, Checkpoint, you know, you name it, from within your environment perspective. So, all right, what's your favorite firewall?
Me or other people?
Are we allowed to have favorites? No, you. Yeah, everyone
on
the chat. What's your favorite firewall?
I'll say
Amanda,
from
what's
a
yours?
logging perspective, Palo Alto.
What about from
FortiGate second?
Okay.
FortiGate's definitely second.
You have any other perspectives on
anything
favorite
but
firewalls?
Cisco?
No, Cisco's a good product. Amanda did not say that. We love Cisco.
I'm not bound by Cisco. I love Cisco's routing and switching, not their firewalls though.
Questions not to ask Amanda on a live webinar. Oh, you're so honest. I appreciate it. But we like all firewalls. It doesn't matter what
We're
you
firewall
use.
agnostic here.
Yeah. Cool. So from a resource perspective, how do people get their hands on the Log Mira tool? Oh, and then to keep on asking questions. If there are any questions, we're happy to ask. Oh, there's a bunch in the chat, but talk about how we how people get access to the tool.
I mean, to make our SEO happy, you can visit our blog and then click the link to go to our GitHub.
Hey, we didn't put,
that would be better.
I want to emphasize here, we didn't put this behind a paywall where you have to like register. You can just go out and get it on GitHub. It is nice if you go to our site, but yeah, that always helps. So, oh man, people want to debate with you on firewalls.
That's all right. Hey, I have not done firewall admin for
we have
5
people
years now,
that
so-
love FortiGate. We have people that hate FortiGate. We have people that love Palo Alto. People that hate Palo Alto because it's too expensive.
Anybody ever managed Checkpoint before? Buddy.
They're all fun. Hey, and someone said thank you for hosting this for free. From a tool perspective, it's going to be great and it's super helpful. So
you're welcome, John.
You're not supposed to tell. Just don't say their last name, right?
Oh, I thought.
Oh man.
Everybody can see it in the chat.
I'm joking. I don't want to censor you. It's all good.
I shall not be censored.
Would I get an alert? So someone does ask, would I get an alert to know what it had been done automatically? Yeah, you'll in the reporting, you would get an alert yourself and then reporting as far as how you configured to be alerted on the settings as far as the alerts that come through. Sorry, that question was a little bit late. Sweet. Any other ideas people have for other tools you want us to create? Throw them in the chat. I mean, Amanda would love to do more of these.
Totally need more work. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Any other ideas as far as like other cool new stuff you're going to be doing in the future? That you can talk about.
Yeah, I'm doing training, but not through Mira. We do use Mira in our training though.
No, that's great. Talk about the training. We can promote it. Is it free or does it cost money?
It costs money.
Okay. Yeah, just setting expectations.
I mean, yeah, I've done it free before, but now that people are willing to pay me, I might as well, right? No, we're doing it at Wild West Hacking Fest, Hackfest CA, and NOLACon. It's basically like if you would take tabletops and mix them in with Dungeons and Dragons.
I commented your link. I watched a video. My comment was like, you should do a craps version of it.
A craps version.
Yeah, like it's just like you're gambling on the threat or like the.
I mean, we make people roll into like these companies. So like we have a healthcare company and we have a startup and we have a nuclear power plant, and you get to roll and see what company you go into. And then you also get to roll die and see if you're the CISO or maybe you're marketing or maybe you're IR. And depending on what your playbooks end up being, that we also help you make during the training, is how that affects the different injects that we have. So like, we're phishing your organization now. Are you able to detect it? And you have to roll and make different decisions. And it is super fun and a lot of work. But yeah,
someone did volunteer to make you D&D 3D printed desktop thingies.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Server on Fire. And they also made Gurkhan coins. If anyone's not familiar with Gurkhan, that's in Michigan. Good event. Okay. Cool. Next, just to summarize, like, thanks everybody for attending. We do have a bi-weekly webinar product demo with myself if you want to get into more details, or we're always happy to spend time with you if you're interested in the product. You can email hello@bluemira.com or sales@bluemira.com, or go to our website and we have like a cool chat bot you can interact with. That is one of my projects, which like I think it'd be fun to make an interactive chat bot that people could like get some consulting advice on.
Who wants to use the phone?
Yeah, like you don't want to talk to a salesperson. No, I'm kidding. I happen to run sales and marketing.
Just to talk to during the pandemic. That's why you're all here, right? You're just bored and you want to see people on that are live talking.
Wait, do they want to see people talking, or do you want to talk to the chat bot during the pandemic? I'm not sure.
Good point.
Yeah. Join us next week. Check out the cool stuff we're doing. We're going to continue to release a bunch of new cool stuff on Windows and have more webinars and talk about fun stuff. So no, the person just wants to talk to the chat bot.
Perfect.
I actually, on that note, like I did have this idea. we have a few more minutes, right? I had this idea where I'd buy a bunch of Alexas and you could call into, you could like call a phone and then you would be talking to Alexa.
Oh my.
It's a really bad idea. I guess like, why wouldn't you just have an Alexa at your house? But yeah, the social experiments on this end get pretty fun. So chatbots are coming. We'll try and think of something fun. You can try our chatbot now. It's going to be kind of interactive to like getting you
mess
to a
with it.
sales experience. But yeah, ideally I would like to maybe do some stuff that like, you know, you can talk to about your technology stack and it would give you some interesting information that's helpful and useful, similar to the new tool you created. So, hey, thanks for spending an hour with us today, Amanda. I think we answered all the questions people had, and we'll wait a few more minutes in case there's any other questions that come in or topics that are reasonable that you want us to talk about. But it's been fun, and thanks everybody for contributing on the chat.
I like interactive people.
Yeah, next time we should, like, you ever do a webinar where you just let everybody on?
We could try. I mean,
then you got it. It's like the person that needs to go on mute.
Yeah. Well, for mental health hackers, we do like one a week, and there's up to like 40, 50 people on, and they're all allowed to talk. It gets interesting. Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone. Genuinely appreciate you joining us, the participation and fun. And don't hesitate to hit us up if there's other topics you have ideas on that you want us to speak of. So thank you so much, Amanda. Check out the new Log Mira tool if you haven't already. And we'll look forward to providing more value to all of you.
Yay.
Cheers. Stop recording. But everyone still can hear us. All right. Later, folks.
Bye, everybody.